this is Elizabeth with Mad for Macrame, and today I'm going to show you how to make a hand knit blanket using Ganxxet's new chenille yarn. I'm going to be using the 3 different colors, gray, light blue, and white, and I have 2 of the white, 1 for each end of the blanket. To get started, we're going to create a chain just like we would in a crochet project. So pull some of your yarn and make a loop. All chains start with a slip knot, so we're going to make a slip knot. Create a loop by twisting away from you. And then pull up another loop. And tighten. Okay, this first initial chain actually creates the width of your blanket. I'm going to make a chain of 28. I think that's a good size for a throw, 28 to 30. So pull up a loop. Pull up a loop. So you're just pulling that working yarn up through each loop and trying to keep them the same size. And you're going to continue doing that until you have 28. And count the loops on the side. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 28. Now that we have 28 on our chain, I'm going to move my yarn. Let's move this plant. I like to switch the yarn, move it back and forth as we're working across the blanket. So from this last loop here, this chain is running horizontal. We actually need our blanket to start going this way, growing in length. So we're going to take our working yarn and we're going to pull up a loop through this last loop on the chain and force it to go vertically. Then under the next stitch, pull up a loop and try to keep those loops the same size. You're going to work your way all the way down the chain. I'll meet you back once I get to the end. We created our first row. Now I'm going to move the yarn to the other side. Go ahead and pull some more yarn out. And the last loop that we created, just keep working. Pull up another vertical loop. Work your way down. I know this blanket looks a little crazy at first, but once you get a couple rolls completed, you really see it come together. The trick is just to keep all your loops as close to the same size as possible. You don't want them too tight, but you don't want them too loose either, so your blanket is a little bit more sturdy. Move your yarn. And then start working in the other direction. Same thing. Pull up your loops. And that's all you're going to do for this entire blanket. You're just going to keep working back and forth, pulling up those loops. I'm going to finish this roll of white, and then I will change colors and I'll show you how to do that. I wanted to show you this really quick. If you find in your yarn that it's been tied together here, you can clip off the ends as close as possible, or when you're making your loops, just try to make sure that you hide it on the inside of that stitch. It's really so fuzzy you won't see it once the blanket is finished. Okay, I have just a little bit of white left. I don't think it's enough to make it. Usually you can tell if it'll go down and back again, then you can probably make it, but this one is too short. So I'm going to show you how to change colors. You'll need a pair of scissors. And I'm going to use the light blue next. So to switch colors, to keep it simple, I clip, leave a little bit of a tail just to give yourself enough room. Take the new piece of yarn and you're just going to tie a simple overhand knot. And then tighten it down. Be careful when you tighten it down because it will break. You can see it's connected. I'm just kind of clip off the excess here. Make sure that's going to look good. I'm going to start the next row with the blue and see how that kind of hides itself inside of that stitch. Once it's all together, it's so fuzzy you'll never even see that transition there. Then you start working with your next color. Okay, I'm done with the blue. And as your blanket gets bigger, I like to start rolling it up so it's not so far away from you when you're working. It'll make it a little bit easier as you work your rows across. Okay, let's switch colors. I'm gonna go to the gray. Clip the blue. Leaving just enough room to tie a knot. Definitely didn't have enough to make it all the way down. That. Now just tie a knot. When you clip, make sure you don't clip your knot. It's hard to see because the cord's so fuzzy, or the yarn. I'm going to use all this gray and then switch back to white, and then I will show you how to finish the blanket at the very end. Now we've made it to our last row, and on this last row, make sure that you create your loops a little bit bigger than you were before. Not quite double in size, but a little bit bigger than the previous loops. Once you finish that, just leave your tail on the end and I will meet you back and show you how to finish this last row. So you're just going to leave that tail alone for right now and come back to where you started, that last row. You have your loops that are a little bit bigger than the previous rounds. You take that first loop, hold it in your left hand, the one on the right side of it, the very next loop, hold it with your right hand, and you're going to stick the right loop inside of the left loop. And then grab it with your left hand. And do it again. So the right one goes inside of the loop on the left. This part's a little tight. That's why we make these loops a little bit bigger. And you're going to do that all the way down. So once you get to the end, you do your last loop. This loop here on the end, now you can take your tail and stick it through that last loop. And I like to take the tail and then secure a knot on the side here. It just kind of holds that down in place. See how that side has a nice little finished look to it. Where we started, the tail over here, you can also like tie a knot and tuck it in. Just helps keep it extra secure. And now remember, this is just a small throw. If you'd like something a little bit larger, try 6 rolls. I just wanted something to cover my legs up on the sofa, or maybe to lay at the foot of my bed. But I love these colors and how it turned out. Isn't it pretty? So 4 rolls will make a throw. I would probably, if I had it to start over again, I would probably just use 24 maybe as my first chain. I think 28 was a little much, or 26, whatever we started with. But depends on how wide you want your blanket.